When it comes to the Suicide Squad, with a few exceptions, we usually think of the team as being comprised of B, C, or even D list villains. People that are mostly expendable. Villains that were incompetent enough in the field and ended up as such being captured, transferred to Belle Reve, and on Amanda Waller's unlucky list of recruits. But not all members, of course, are this low on the totem pole when it comes to villainy. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Some Suicide Squad members are actually well-known villains like Harley Quinn, and with so many years of comic book history, there may in fact be some A-lister villains that served their time on the squad that you didn't even know about. Today we'll be taking a look at the ever-changing Task Force X roster as we count down the top 10 famous villains you didn't know joined the Suicide Squad. Let's get into it. Number 10, Grant Morrison. Is Grant Morrison really a villain though? Well, this version of the writer is. We aren't really talking about legendary comic book writer Grant Morrison here, just to clarify. They obviously are busy writing comics and not necessarily appearing in them because, you know, we're people, we can't really actually go into comics. This character, however, does share their name and profession and was created by Grant Morrison himself and Chaz Truog. Grant Morrison is portrayed as a character in the comics who is the enemy of Animal Man and goes by the alias of Writer. The Writer had reality-altering powers connected to, of course, their writing. Obviously, the character was created as a kind of fun joke by actual real-world writer Grant Morrison. Morrison and Truog's Grant Morrison ended up on the Suicide Squad during War of the Gods. The character perished in issue 58 of Volume 1 of the Suicide Squad. Sad. No more Grant Morrison. All we have is Grant Morrison left. Number 9, Reverse Flash. Okay. So it's not Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, it's Daniel West. But I still think Daniel West is really cool, and more of a tragic character actually than Thawne, so I'm including him, even though he is a newer character. Or at least he was anyways. During his time on the Suicide Squad, he ended up dying. He ended up injuring his knee on a mission after pushing himself too hard in terms of speed. And so, when he had to race against the clock to dispose of a time bomb that threatened an entire village, he ended up sacrificing himself to save the day. Well, initially, he actually succeeded. He had dropped the time bomb into the ocean to dispose of it, mission accomplished, everything was safe, but while running back across the water, he tripped and ended up getting sucked into the vortex that the explosive created. Sad stuff. Reverse Flash joined the new Suicide Squad in issue 5, and he died later on in the new Suicide Squad Annual, issue number 1. I mean, it's the Suicide Squad. Someone's gotta die. And friends, before we move on to this next point, if you're enjoying this list and you want to learn even more about the Suicide Squad, please give this video a thumbs up. I personally love going into it with you, so yeah, if you want more of it, let us know. Also, maybe hit subscribe. Hit subscribe while you're down there. Did you hit subscribe yet? You should do it. 9 out of 10 people highly recommend hitting subscribe. I mean, this is a made-up statistic, so 10 out of 10 people recommend hitting subscribe. Number 8, Killer Frost. Back when Caitlin Snow was still a villain, she was part of the Suicide Squad. She was a scientist who was turned into a heat vampire after an experiment gone wrong where she was betrayed by her own colleagues. That's how she got her powers. As Killer Frost, Caitlin Snow appeared as a member of the Suicide Squad during the Justice League vs. Suicide Squad limited series. As a result of that story, she ended up actually turning to the side of good after. Batman negotiated her release from Belle Reve after she had helped to save the world, though she did, of course, remain on parole, because, you know, let's not go crazy here. As a hero, Killer Frost would drop the killer part of her moniker, going instead by just Frost. Number 7, Cyborg Superman. Cyborg Superman is another villain who you might not know served on the team. Cyborg Superman is Hank Henshaw, who was one of the replacements for Superman following the events of the Death of Superman story. Of course, he quickly turned to the side of evil, as some cyborgs are known to do. I'm not looking at you, Cyborg, so don't worry, you're still cool. Cyborg Superman would appear as a member of the Suicide Squad team during the events of Convergence in the Suicide Squad Convergence series in issues 1 and 2. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well for that team. As soon as Cyborg Superman was unleashed as well, he pretty much instantly turned on everyone, ending up in a brief one-on-one fight with Star Sapphire. Number 6, Dr. Light. Dr. Light might not be a big-time foe to some, but he's definitely a memorable villain considering that he's been involved in some pretty major plots in DC. He's not really anyone's main squeeze of a nemesis, but instead is just a general villain, and a pretty terrible person overall. He ended up joining the Suicide Squad during the New Earth continuity, appearing in John Ostrander's original Suicide Squad volume, attempting to get recruited in issue 19, but being denied, and then later joining the team in issue 24. Light wanted to join initially to get time removed from his sentence, but later joined mainly because he was doubting himself and was made to feel less than by Jacob Finley, who operated as a heroic version of Dr. Light for a brief time. Arthur was Jacob's friend and colleague, but was also responsible for his death. Dr. Light would later die, go to hell, be resurrected briefly only to die again in his grave, and then be brought back one more time. Once more back to life, but more permanently now. He attempted to rejoin the squad, but was denied re-entry by Amanda Waller. Sad. A lot of denials for Dr. Light, but he was on it for a little bit of time. Number 5, Ravager. Ravager is the moniker for Rose Wilson, crazed daughter of Slade Wilson, who wanted initially to be just like her father, and to prove it, she even cut out her eye to match him. Yikes. Rose often operates as her father, Deathstroke's apprentice, wanting to learn how to be a skilled, deadly mercenary assassin just like him. Rose's feelings about her father have more recently become more complicated in the comics since then, and she currently has more of a love-hate relationship with her dad right now. She appears as a member of the version of the Suicide Squad from the DC Bombshells universe, working alongside Batgirl, Enchantress, Killer Croc, Francine Charles, and, of course, Amanda Waller. Number 4, Captain Cold. Captain Cold is a well-known Flash villain and is often known as the leader of the supervillain team, the Rogues. But did you also know that he was on the Suicide Squad as well? Yep. Captain Cold made his first appearance on the team in issue 16 of the original Suicide Squad volume, where he very casually just kind of appeared there as a member of the team. He seemed pretty friendly with Captain Boomerang in this issue, I guess because they're both criminals and they're both captains. Captains gotta stick together, I suppose, but apparently not too close or for too long, as Captain Cold only appeared for a few issues with the team after his initial appearance. By issue 20, he was pretty much gone. Number 3, Bane. When we think major Batman villains, Bane is definitely one of them. He was made famous after being one of the antagonists known for his ability to break Batman, literally, during the events of Nightfall. More recently during Tom King's run, Bane would return to torment Batman once more, this time focusing on not just defeating him physically, but mentally as well. Bane was well on his way to becoming a national hero permanently when Amanda Waller intervened behind the scenes and ended up rigging the nation of Santa Prisca's Democratic election. Frustrated by this, but without knowing who to blame, Bane used his influence to invoke martial law. This created civil unrest and basically all-out war in the country, and ultimately ruined Bane's newly acquired hero status. As a result of his fall from grace, he ended up joining the Suicide Squad and ended up back on Venom. Number 2, Star Sapphire. During the events of Convergence, Star Sapphire ended up joining the Suicide Squad. Many Green Lantern fans know Star Sapphire as Carol Ferris, Hal Jordan's sometimes main squeeze and oftentimes villain. She is part of the Violet Lantern's Corps. In Convergence Suicide Squad issue number 1, Carol offered to join the team. Amanda Waller was initially hesitant to accept, as Carol usually loses control while in her Star Sapphire form, but this time around Carol exhibited her ability to remain in control, and so she joined up. Number 1, the Penguin. Another famous Batman villain who joined the team, but only appeared for a few issues during the first volume. Penguin joined the Suicide Squad in issue number 5 of Ostrander's run. He was actually arrested for something that doesn't really seem criminal, but more has to do with, I think, the prejudice of the justice system. Initially, Penguin emerged from prison after being caught by Batman and proclaimed he actually would no longer be a villain. He was on the straight and narrow because he was in love and his partner did not want him to be involved with crime. He opened an umbrella factory but hired ex-cons, which was deemed by the law as him consorting with known felons. Huh? Although this could be considered just him trying to help reformed criminals restart their lives. Jeez. Anyways, after going to jail, Amanda Waller recruits him to the Suicide Squad. In exchange for completing the mission, he'll become a free man again. Of course, I'm pretty sure for some reason that doesn't actually work out that way, even though he does help with the mission. During the mission, Penguin is almost killed and also just nearly makes it out alive. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he goes back to jail after that. So, what? Man, this justice system is all messed up. No wonder Penguin's becoming a criminal. Can't get ahead. Who are some of your favorite Suicide Squad members? Who are some of your favorite antagonists to the squad? Or antagonists turned members even? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching Nerd Squad. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, till next time, to stay nerdy, YouTube.